Where you go? The second I... Pumpkin. There she is. Hey, Pumpkin. You say hi? How you doing? How you doing, Pumpkin? You good, Pumpkin. Hey, what's up, garden friends? Jeff here. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm great. I'm fantastic, actually, because it's snowing. That wasn't... Oh, it was not dramatic at all. You can't even see it. Okay, we'll go outside. You're going to see the snow. Look at it. There's so much. It doesn't look like that much on camera. I swear, it's so much snow. And I have on shorts and sandals. I have a few seedlings left outside. I'm gonna go ahead and grab those, and then... Okay, he's supposed to wait for permission, but that's fine. I'm gonna grab some seedlings, and I didn't really even need to start the video. I just wanted to show everybody the snow. We'll pick up and do something. I got a greenhouse in the mail, but I don't really see myself putting that together in the snow, so that's why everything's just a mess, and I'm just moving some things inside. Are you so happy? So happy. He loves the snow so much. He had a great time running around the front yard playing. I have things thawing in the sink and out in the grow space. All those plants I brought in, they're pretty frozen. They need to be weeded because where I had them sitting, they were up on the hill on this wall that's back here. I don't think nobody's gonna be able to see that from here. Are you? Probably not. I had to go out there, but it's 22 degrees. I'd rather not. They were over by the hill garden, where I have a lot of the stuff for the pollinators. Over here, right above that Miracle Grow bag. That's where I had them. It was a good spot because there's a sprinkler head over here that was hitting everything very gently. But it was also out of sight, out of mind. So all the little plants that were over there, it's a lot of sable minors and some agaves and other things. They're full of grass and weeds. So got some cleaning up to do with those. They're outside, or in the grow space, I should say, thawing. Had these other things out here that got covered in snow. Tripod, letting that de-thaw. So I didn't mean to leave this out there, but my root and grow, which didn't freeze. I thought that was surprising, but it had snow all over the very top of it. So I thought I should get that cleaned up before I take that out to the grow space. Hopefully it's not ruined because it sat out in the cold weather for like 5 days. Yeah, it's been 5 days since that first clip where I was getting the plants. Things were happening. It's the holidays. Kind of, my family does Thanksgiving on Friday, so the day after. And then the weekend, went to like the garden glow and saw the lights, which I'll put some clips of. At the end of the video, it was very pretty. Oh, it was so pretty. They did a great job. And I've just been getting other things done. I need to finish decorating this window. I have to move everything out, get the curtains put up and hang the garland. I don't feel like doing any of that. Have been slacking on the poinsettia care here. This guy got really dry. That's the problem with poinsettias, is that they don't have a lot of forgiveness to them. So if you let them dry out just a smidge too much, it's over. Game over. Once the leaves start to get this curl on them, then chances are you're going to lose that leaf. They wilted a little bit too much. I got these for such a good deal. These two little ones I think were $3.99, and those two big ones back there were only $6.99. And I got them about 2 weeks ago, that was a problem. I should have done that. It's too early. Because, you know, I have to make that last until Christmas. I got them 2 weeks ago, and today's December 2nd, so I've had them for a minute now. And I could pull those out of their plastics, but I figured since I have to move everything out of here, which I'll probably do this evening or tomorrow night, that I should just leave them wrapped up for now. But that's a very long explanation for I've been watering some plants. I have a few things I need to do over here. I can see that this, who are you? Orchid, the Sherry baby, it's done. It's done. It did its thing. It was nice while it lasted. I'm going to cut those off. I have had people ask me, actually I think it was Judy asked me at some point, I don't know if I ever replied, sorry if I didn't, Judy, about cutting these stems off of the oncidiums. Because with some orchids, some people suggest to leave them, like the Phalaenopsis type, the moth orchids, you know, the ones with the big flowers, we see it, well, everywhere. You can leave those stems because sometimes they'll put up more blooms. Personally, I cut them because to me it's not worth leaving the stem because it'll pop open a couple more flowers, but if you cut it, you're going to give the plant energy to put up a whole new one for us, and it'll look much better than just a couple little flowers that you might get off of that stem that's there. So I let them brown and then cut them off. With the oncidiums, I generally just cut them. I'm going to leave some green that's back there. I'm not cutting them all the way down, but they're not going to pull that much energy back into those pseudobulbs. And this has a whole nother spike coming out of it back there, so I would rather it devote its energy into putting up a new spike as opposed to taking its time trying to deal with all that back there. And it's just messy. It's become very, very messy. It's dropping flowers all over the place. That being said, there are some of the Phalaenopsis type orchids that will continue to bloom only like 1 or 2 flowers at a time off of their inflorescence, off of their spike. So you really just kind of got to know what kind you have. But if you got it from a big box store, it's probably not that type of orchid. Okay, things are thawing. I'm trying to remember what I was going to do. Oh, hey, kitten. How you doing? She's been following the tortoise around the house all day, acting very odd, like she wants to ride him or something. I don't know what's going on with her. Oh, this amaryllis is looking nice, right? This is the one that I got from Dutch Bulbs not too long ago. Oh, it's Dutch Bulbs. I haven't even planted my daffodils yet. This cold's not normal. I was not expecting this. This is January weather we have going on here. I didn't have to set up the greenhouse. The forecast shifted. If you watched last week's video, there was a lot of panic about what was going to happen this week. They were calling for nights in the lower teens and even mid-teens, which concerned me with the mule palms that were out there, but that shifted into being into the low 20s. I think the coldest temperature I've gotten on my sensors so far is 23.5, which the mule palms, they're okay with that. They've got snow on them, and it's been snow on them for several days, which will be the most they've ever taken. But they're big. I like to push them. I like to see what they can handle, so we're just going to have to give that time and see what's up, see if they could take that cold. Typically, with a palm like this, or really any palm that I let sit outside and take a lot of cold, I will be treating them with a fungicide. It takes a long time to see the cold damage. Sometimes it can be several weeks until you really see the cold damage. That's why I like to use a copper-based fungicide inside the crown of them once temperatures start to warm up. We're not there yet. It's the freezing, the thawing, the freezing, the thawing. That's what does the most damage to them, or the extreme cold. And we haven't had freezing and thawing. It's just been frozen for the last several days. And they seem okay, but I can't really say they're okay because, well, it's only been a few days. It's going to be a few weeks. I really know what's going on with them. But that's why I hadn't set up the greenhouse, because it just didn't really seem necessary when it isn't that cold out. And the bulb thing was me remembering I need to get that done. I was thinking I'd be spending the first few weeks of December getting some more shrubs in the ground and planting bulbs, but apparently not. Everything's frozen. And that's okay. It's been really nice. The snow was really pretty. It was relaxing. It was the perfect weekend for it because, you know, doing family stuff, mostly sitting around at home. The roads never got too bad here. And then it snowed again. Had a surprise snow yesterday morning for a few hours, and it was really pretty. There are years where we don't get much snow at all, and I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where we got some snow, but it was only in the middle of the night when everybody's asleep, so you just wake up and it's like, oh, cool, can't drive anywhere, and you miss all the prettiness of the snow falling. So it was really nice. I enjoyed this. And now I need to do some plant things. Are you done soaking yet? So what I do with these, I guess I should talk about that, is I water it. I leave these in their foil. It makes it a lot easier to water them. And just wait until the moisture feels like it's gotten back up to the top. So basically, there's like a bubble of water down here. Can you see? You're not gonna be able to see it. There's like, can you, boom, boom, see it? You get it? Bubble of water. It's soaking that up right now and give that, I don't know, as long as it takes until the soil feels evenly moist all around the top. And then I'll pull it out and dump that water out. They seem to respond better to being watered from underneath as opposed to putting them in the sink and just trying to drench them. This way, I don't know, there's less shock or something. Poinsettias, you know, they can be kind of finicky sometimes. Okay, what was I doing? This stuff right here. So this is everything that was outside, and you can see there's some cleaning that needs to be done. This stuff got pretty messy. And is that gonna fit on the desk? I don't know if that's gonna fit over there. The tripod time? There's definitely not gonna be room for the tripod and the y'all want to go up on the stick and try the stick out, see if the stick will work. See, I never use this stick because I just don't trust it. It feels like it will fall over, but I guess that'll work. Can we tilt? Is that going to work? Also, apologies for the audio in last week's video. I came out here and it was just ruined. The audio was absolutely ruined. I think it was the background sound from the heater was apparently too much for my new microphone. I'm not gonna be able to fit all that right there, but you can try. I shouldn't walk away from the camera while I'm talking to it. There we go. There's the plants. Hopefully the audio's okay. I don't understand why everything got so messed up last week, because I filmed out here before, not with the heater, not with this new microphone, but it's just a newer model of the mic that I have used for years in the past, and you could hear the heater before, but it was never so loud and obnoxious. I spent a long time editing trying to fix the sound, and there was just nothing I could do. It sounded absolutely horrible. I think the yuccas are okay. Not really seeing anything all that messy in these. Oh, that's right. I already cleaned these out. We did that in a different video. I completely forgot about that. I think the main ones that I need to get cleaned up are these sable palms. Yeah, some of them have grown together. The advantage to letting them take some cold, not a ton of cold, but they've had some frost and leaving them out, is that this grass and stuff that is in these has started to fall out. These are agaves. I don't think there's anything growing up inside these. Nah, they look okay. This one right here, look how much growing this one's done. This is the Perii Giant Grandkids. See the tag on this one? So it's a Perii, gets a really nice oval shape to it, and it's supposed to offset very, very, very prolifically. And it's a big one for as far as Peris are concerned. What does it say on here for the size? 36 inches, 36 by 42, which, you know, some Peris get that big, but that's pretty big and hefty. And then this one right here is just the ovatifolia, which showed up looking pretty rough. Got some new growth out of it, not a lot, but I don't know, it definitely looks better than it did when it was delivered. I don't know, does that need a new pot? I don't think so. It's got some wobble to it, see that? It's got wobble, don't need to repot it. All right, let's just 3 more of these guys and get all this stuff fixed up. What a mess. Can't believe I let it get that bad. It's just grass, right? It's not that big of a deal, but certainly not a good look. Pardon the peppers, those are for the iguana. So these are the sable miners called Knoxville that I got from Brian's Botanicals. They're supposedly an extremely cold hardy sable miner. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see about that. I wanted to grow these out for a year or two before I put them in the ground. Should I have maybe moistened the soil up some more first? Because those roots are pretty stubborn. They're not wanting to come up. I'm pulling. Nothing's happening there. Okay, all right, well, got a little bit of something out. Not a little, that's a lot. I guess that's good that the majority of the grass was in there as one plant. I don't really worry about the clovers and things that are in these all that much. I may end up having to top dress these with some fresh soil because, well, pulling out a lot of soil from all the weeds that are coming out from in there. Like I said, the clover can stay. Try and get those pine needles out. Want to make sure that there's airflow around the center of these because, you know, rot. Things can rot very easily when you're moving them in and out. That's the main downside to having to pull these in and out during the winter time, is that you have those fluctuations like I was talking about before, the freezing and thawing. So ideally, I need to pick a lane. I don't know if I really want to leave them out because, you know, it's too cold. I really think that they would benefit from having more time to grow out, get some size on them before they go in the ground, since they're only supposedly a really cold hardy sable miner. And even the least cold hardy sable miners are usually okay here in the winter. Have to cover them up when it drops below 0. You don't have to, but they'll defoliate normally when it drops below 0. And that usually happens a few times a year. But these are, I think they were saying that they think that this might be an extremely cold hardy type, not a cultivar. This isn't something that was bred specifically to be really cold hardy. I think that these were the ones that Brian, the owner of Brian's Botanical, had been admiring from somebody else's garden that have a really nice look to them and had survived some really extreme colds there in Knoxville. I think that was the story behind these, which is good. So there's seed from somebody who's grown them, a whole bunch of them, for a long time. Maybe that cold hardiness will pass along. That's generally how it works with cold hardy palms. not doing things where you're trying to breed them to get them to be more cold hardy all that often. Usually it's more about just collecting seeds from ones that are surviving extreme colds or in areas where you wouldn't think they were. Or with the sable miners, sometimes it's just a native group of them that's occurring further north or in a spot where you wouldn't think that they would be able to survive. Like I believe the McCurtain is one of those, which is a great, super cold hardy sable miner. But those grow like snails, and there are others that are probably just as cold hardy. There are definitely others that are as cold hardy as the McCurtain that don't grow as slowly. What I liked about this one was that, if I'm remembering correctly, what I was seeing in the parent plants was that they had a slightly more Costa palmate frond on them. So the sables, sable palmettos, and other types of trunked sables, and some that have subterranean trunk, they have a fan leaf that is folded and it curls. My bones don't curl, so I won't be able to depict it all that well. Those are Costa palmate leaves. The McCurtain, not the McCurtain, the miners, the sable miners, they have a big fan leaf with a distinctive V split in the middle. Sometimes it's more obvious than other times. It kind of depends on the plant. Like the Emerald Isle Giant, I believe that one has a very distinct slit in it. And I've grown some where you almost don't get any slit at all. And they look like a sable miner, but the leaves in the pictures from the parent plants, I just really liked how the plant looked. So on top of it, hopefully being an extremely cold hardy type, it will also have some really attractive foliage, and they won't trunk, but they'll have just a little bit of wood above ground, and that's going to be very, very, very far into the future. Is that a weed? How did that get in there? Oh, it's wrapped around the side of the base of the plant. These things can be sneaky. Okay, these are going to be much easier to take care of now that they're cleaned out. Oh, I'm not done yet, am I? There's still one more back here. Almost missed one. Oh, it's got a bunch of big stuff in it, too. Big stuff. That is mostly nutsedge. Nutsedge was a problem this year. Not as bad as other years. I managed to get by on mainly pulling it, which is always a risk with the nutsedge, because they leave behind all these tiny little bulblets, and they break apart very, very easily from the ones that you're trying to pull. But didn't have too many issues with that. It's definitely been worse in the past. Okay, there. Doesn't that look better? Nice and clean. You can actually see the plants. Again, I don't think the others need any cleaning up, do they? Doesn't really look like it. Let's see, what else do we have over here? This over here did not do much growing at all over the summer. This is Sable Palmetto Augusta. It's from a Sable Palmetto, like I was talking about before, how they will collect seed from plants that are growing further north than you would expect them to. And that's what this one is. It's from a Sable Palmetto that's growing up in Augusta, Georgia. And you can see it's got a bad frond here, which isn't good. Really want to make sure I get in here and keep this nice and open on the inside. I might hit this with a fungicide just to be safe, because having that airflow in there is really important. I'm not going to freak out about that little piece that's right there, but it's not ideal. I was reaching for the fungicide. That's what I was doing there. And come in here, spray that down very, very heavily, just in case. I don't think that it should have even had to deal with all that much cold. It really shouldn't have. I think it was like 23 when I brought everything in, 24, and it had just gotten down there. It had been relatively warm out, so they didn't have to endure a long period of cold. It was more like once it got cold, I moved them in. Probably should have done it a little bit sooner, but with plants like these Sable Miners, I want them to take some cold, right? I don't necessarily want these plants to adjust or acclimate to being in the grow space, because I want them to grow up prepared to have to take some long, cold winters. It's the same thing back here with this yucca. which is looking beautiful. I need to add, I mean, look at it. I'm going to bring y'all up. I'm going to try anyways, working with a different tripod here. And then, well, that looks ridiculous, but you can kind of see what's going on in here. So this is an Aloefolia media picta. The medio picta, it just means it's variegated. When temperatures cool, they get this really pretty pink stripe in them. So that's something you'll see in the fall, winter, and usually into the early spring. And then when it's warm out, it's just more of this kind of creamy green and white variegation. These will get a nice trunk on them. Should go about 5-6 feet. Oh, this is variegated, so it might stay a little bit smaller. Do they say on the tag? Height 60 inches, so 5 feet. There's the actual name, if you want it spelled out for you, the Mediopicta. Variegated Aloefolias are not always easy to come by. I had to wait a long time to get my hands on one of these, which is just so funny to me, because I used to have a few variegated Aloefolias that were just sold as basically random yuccas at a nursery years ago. And I had to remove them because, well, for one, the sun shifted, so they started to lean, and they were leaning over the patio. So they needed to be moved because of that. And they were stabbing people. The Aloefolia is a very sharp, stabby yucca. Hardy zone 7 and up, really zone 6, they're probably fine. I was a zone 6 at the time when I grew them out for several years, and they were always okay. I think what ended up happening with the ones that I had was I was doing that thing where it's like, well, next year I'll dig them up. And they draped over the patio, and we had a bad ice storm, and they didn't have protection, so they were over the patio, not over the ground, and they ended up rotting and dying. And I've been kicking myself ever since because I didn't know that it was a hard plant to get a hold of. I don't know if the ones I had were the Mediopictas. I assume that they weren't, but they were variegated and very pretty. It's an interesting looking plant. Even now, it's an interesting looking plant, but as they get larger, they're still very interesting because they look a lot like, kind of like a Dracaena, really, but cold hardy into zone 6A, 6B, 6A, I'd say with a good amount of protection just to be safe. It's really all that with all of these. It goes back to your winter, what did I try to say? Your winter wetness. The moisture is what makes the biggest difference. So having them dry when it's really cold outside, meaning the crowns of the plant really dry and the area surrounding the crown down low, that makes a gigantic difference. So if you're in, say, like Oklahoma, where your winters are more dry than they are here, then these would be great for you. There's all kinds of really awesome yuccas you can grow over in Oklahoma and Kansas and Colorado. The Schefflera, so this is the Taiwaniana. Talked about this a bunch. It's a more cold hardy type of Schefflera. I don't know if it appreciated that cold. Down to, like I said, it's about 23, 24, somewhere in there. This did have some ice and snow on it when I brought it in, so you can see there's some damage right there. But it's been a few days since I brought them in, and you can see that this tiny little growth, I'm going to zoom way in here and try and make it so y'all can see what I'm talking about. This tiny little itty bitty piece of growth in there. See that? And it still has a green on it. That's the most sensitive part of the plant. And since it's looking okay, I'd say the plant is okay. But this one, it's just like all these others that I have over here on the table, where I really think it would be smart to grow them out for probably several years, get some size on them before even trying them outside. The Taiwaniana, I don't know if I'll end up trying it in the ground. I've thought about it, but I don't know. We just have to wait and see. I think that this will probably be a plant that I end up treating like my Recurvifolia yuccas, or maybe even this Aloefolia back here, the Fatsia japonica, where I keep them outside most of the year, but when we drop below 20, I go ahead and scoot them inside. I don't know if this will be okay with that or not. I'm gonna just push it a little bit further every single year. That's kind of the whole point here. Kind of the theme behind this video is pushing the limits on things. Like I said, those mule palms. Every year I let them take a little bit more cold. Those mule palms have gone down to 13 degrees before, and they had, like, I'd say 70% defoliation, which isn't that bad, really. So I'm hopeful that it being in the 20s and lower 20s won't affect them since they're older, more mature. but they're also in need of a repot too. So they went to this cold, not dehydrated, but just not as girthy and sturdy as I would prefer. Just have to, I keep saying it, just have to keep on waiting and see what's going to happen with them. We're supposed to have a warm up here in several days where temperatures should be into the 40s and 50s, and I will spray them with the copper-based fungicide when that happens. Hopefully the ground will thaw enough for me to get the daffodils in the ground. That's, like I mentioned before, that's what I was planning on doing if we hadn't have had this cold snap, was getting the daffodils in the ground and putting down some mulch and some shrubbery and everything. But no, winter is here. It's very unusual for it to be this cold this early, or for it to be this cold for this long. We usually have a cold snap that'll last from like 3 to 5 days. Sometimes even colder than this, where it'll drop into the teens, briefly, upper teens. But then it warms back up into like the 40s and 50s. But I don't know. I don't see that warm up coming other than a few days. Might be in the 40s and 50s, and it looks like it's going to get cold again. It has me pretty nervous, wondering what the heck is this winter going to be like. This winter might be pretty intense. Okay, so that's good. Those have been cleaned up. I should probably put them in a bin and give them a drink. And then I have some potting mix over here I'm trying to get warmed up because I need to pot up some Colocasias that are back over there. That's why I brought the root stimulator in. I remembered that it was outside, that needs to be in here. So I'm going to want to water those Colocasias in, which I'm probably going to have to keep over here for a while because it's just so cold. That side of the garage, it's a lot cooler. I need to insulate those garage doors. I'm getting off topic here. At some point later on, I'm going to pick up and we'll get those Colocasias potted up. Side quest. Probably no surprises there. Lots of little things need to get done out here. I've been messing with this pump here. This is a pump that runs the waterfall and the filter and everything. I realized that I haven't really done a thorough cleaning on this in a couple of years. So I took this whole thing apart. This is the motor end with the impeller. It's where the impeller goes. This entire thing was just covered in sludge. It looked pretty gross. And I've been talking about how the flow out here on the waterfall, on the filter back there, how it was pretty weak and it had decreased. So I was expecting to take this apart and have all kinds of debris and junk inside of here, down inside the impeller, but there was nothing. It was just sludge. And sludge can certainly slow things down quite a bit, but shouldn't slow things down that much. Well, I'm hopeful that this will make a difference, because if it doesn't, then that means that there's a much larger clog somewhere in the line or in the back of that waterfall, which isn't really accessible at this point. I don't think I can get to the back of that without there being a good amount of moving. I'd have to move a lot of stuff to get that handled, to be able to access the back of it, I should say. So hopefully this will do the trick. I wasn't going to film this. I probably should have, because cleaning off the sludge was actually pretty satisfying. Some of y'all may have really enjoyed watching. I think it would have been a mixed bunch of reactions. There'd be people who found it fun and satisfying, and other people who were completely and totally disgusted by it. You know, I don't know. What's your camp? What do you like? I know I enjoy watching a nice thorough cleaning, so I maybe would have enjoyed it, but I didn't want to take the risk of grossing people out too much. The tricky part with this is getting this thing put back on just right, because I have this position so the pump is suspended and not in contact with the bottom. I do that so that it doesn't get clogged up as easily. It's not sitting on the bottom. I'm going to try to adjust y'all up and then get this thing plugged back in. We'll see if everything I just did made a difference or not. Tripod was working great when I was pulling the junk out of the plants, but not so much now. Don't know, I spoke too soon about it being a really good tripod. I'll try that again later. All right, here we go, plugging it in. It's going to take a moment. It'll do it. There we go. Okay, I'd say that's pretty much exactly the same. It's not any better. I don't understand what changed with this, because it was running very smoothly And I didn't do it. Nothing changed. It's fine. It looks okay like this, but it was a nice sheer piece of water. It looked like glass that was coming over the edge. It could just be algae buildup inside of here. I have taken a brush and gone through it and scrubbed out as much of that as I can. It doesn't come apart, so I don't really know what else to do about that other than upgrade to a larger pump that's more powerful. That is something with these water weirs. I remember reading about that in the review. It's called a weir when it's just supposed to be a smooth cascade of the water. That a lot of people were saying you need a minimum of 3,500 gallons per hour. This pump does 4,000 gallons per hour, so I was like, we should be good. But, you know, you factor in the tubing, and then there's some elevation there, and it's not the most expensive pump. It's like $45. It's lasted many years. It's been a great pump, but it just might not be strong enough. The problem, though, is that when you get into pond pumps, waterfall-type pumps that do 4,000 gallons an hour and higher, they get really pricey, and they tend to be really big and use a lot of electricity. Like, they're like 300 watts. Whereas this thing down here is like, I think 75. So I'm tempted to just say, oh, well, I guess this is what it's going to look like. And that's okay. And it is okay. It would be nice if it looked the way it looked when I installed it a few months ago. Especially now that we're actually all in here, right? So for several weeks, I had this installed and just got to see it in passing because it was still summer. I was going in and out of the garage. I was like, oh, that looks nice. That'll be so great during the winter when I'm inside the plants. And now we're inside the plants, and it's just a bunch of dribble. That's all right. I've added some padding into the spot where the biological media is, where everything comes crashing down. So that's at least helping with the background noise. Well, anyways, at least it's not as much of a ruckus as it was earlier when I was filming. It's a more calm, peaceful sound. Oh yeah, I think that's it. I brought in a couple of pots to use for the Colocasias. They're frozen solid and they have ice in them. So I think I'll just wait overnight for those to thaw out because I need to drill holes in them, and I don't want to work with pots that are frozen. And I don't want to crack the plastic because I need to drill bigger holes. And they have some holes, but they're really small. Colocasias, they need nice big holes. See the Colocasias back there, these guys right there? That's what I'm talking about. So pick up sometime later and get that taken care of. I'm glad that I got this cleaned out. Needed to be done. Just, I don't know, I was hoping for more of a result with the speed of the water, the flow, but that's all right. It's fine. Like I said, at least it's done. It's going to keep driving me crazy, but at least it's done. Hey, Turbs. So nice to be outside, isn't it? It does feel nice. New day. 50 degrees outside, which feels oddly warm compared to the last few days. I am out here with the greenhouse. Went through the directions. Not much to really look at with the directions. You know, it basically just says set it up. Now, there was a nice note in here about not pinching your fingers. Thought that was helpful. Appreciate that. And also, number 1 says never set up or continue to use in any snow, hail, rain, or windstorm, especially during lightning storms. Okay, makes sense. Metal frame, lightning, bad idea, but snow? It's a greenhouse. It's also incredibly windy because it's supposed to get cold again. It's nice we get a little bit of a break. 50 degrees feels pretty good after multiple days in the 20s and upper teens, but it's supposed to be like 17 tonight. So good timing to go ahead and set this up. I'll throw a few plants in there, put a sensor in it tonight. I don't expect much out of this. I'm also going to need to gather bricks or something to keep this from blowing away. I haven't thought that through. I don't know what I'm going to do to hold this down. It has stakes. It came with stakes, but I can't use stakes on the patio. That's not going to work. Let's open it up, have a look, see what we're working with here. Got the plastic, which feels very lightweight and very thin, which is what I expected. I should mention, I'm going into this with very low expectations. This was, I would say, relatively inexpensive. I got it on sale. I think it was $122. It goes 8x6 or whatever the dimensions were, and up to 99 inches high. It has an adjustable height on it. It's just I don't even know what you call the things, but you know, you go to like events, things outside, and vendors set up underneath the tent things. It's one of those, but with a clear cover. That's all this is. I do like that it came with this carrying case. That is a nice touch, because one of the things that I've been looking for in a greenhouse, I don't have to use quotes, I'm going to put plants in it, we can call it a greenhouse, but This is more of a portable cold frame. It's what I think would be better to call this. One of the things I look for is that it's easy. Not a lot of poles and things like that. There was one that I really wanted that had a really beautiful dome shape to it. It was more than this. It's like $200-300. It's also a lot bigger. I think it was 11-foot diameter and maybe 9 foot tall in the center, but it was a lot of poles, just like, you know, a tent. It's more the old school tents where you got to do all types of strapping and I don't know. I was going to say twerking. Twerking is not the word. Tweaking? Is that what I meant to say? So I think the way this works is it's going to accordion out and then I push it up and then I'm done, I think. Yeah, this is fun. Very satisfying. I wish I had the tripod out here. Or actually even another person. It would be helpful if I had somebody else to help me pull this. But there are others that are easier than this too. I forgot to mention it. There are ones where you just get in the middle and you lift up and the whole thing pops up. Those are a little bit more and they weren't going to get here in time. Although in time became irrelevant since I didn't get this set up before the cold got here. But it turned out it didn't get that cold, so I didn't need to. I'm really only doing this because I mentioned that I would, so here we are. Well, this is dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Just keep it from hyper-extending in the wrong direction, but wouldn't it be more logical if there was also something that went over this to lock it in place because you just barely push that and it sinks right down? This is part of the canopy. This is what goes all the way up there to the top. See, I keep having to come in and reposition these. They don't want to stay up. Come through the directions. I'm not seeing anything in here about there being a locking mechanism to keep these upright. You don't want that divot in there because snow will collect in there. Is that why it says not to use in the snow? Maybe that's why. Oh, this is weird. You can see, like, it feels like it's going to snap. When you put it in there, you can feel like it's about to snap into place, but it doesn't. It's not snapping in. So it's just supposed to have this stupid shape to the top? That doesn't make any sense. The top should be like that, right? That makes more sense than that. That's dumb. That's really dumb. It needs to be like this so that things can slide off the top. What is that? What is that? Does this move? No, nothing adjusts on here. There's no buttons or pull tabs, just that. That's all it does. On the setup though, very easy. Very easy. Just push that. And then what I did was I came in and just did that with each one of these pieces, and that accordions out the sides. It took like, I don't know, 30 seconds. Then it says to go ahead and lift it up and then put the canopy on, but I feel like it would make more sense to put the canopy on while it's down here where I can reach it, as opposed to when it's up high. But maybe it's really hard to adjust the height on this when it has the canopy on it. Or maybe the little pins in there aren't strong enough to support moving it up and down with the canopy. I'm going to try and put the canopy on first and then adjust the height. Okay. Not done yet, but making some progress here. It actually is quite a bit warmer in here than it is outside, although it's because it's sunny. That's not saying all that much. One thing I noticed as I started to get all the seams and everything lined up is this piece right here. So I'm thinking that this is... Somehow I gotta put my foot down here, hold that down. This is supposed to do something in there. Man, that is a tight stretch. That doesn't feel right, but that's the only thing I can figure, is that this is supposed to somehow latch into this piece up here, and then that will hold the roof up, I'm thinking. This is probably something you're supposed to do with another person. Just saying that because I would imagine if you had another person, then that would distribute the tension more evenly and have less of a risk of breaking things. So that's where we are right now. I think I can probably finish this up in a couple minutes. Okay, done. Got it all up there. This one corner over here did not want to strap or push the little button thing. It just wasn't happening. But the other three, got it done. Everything is Velcroed and secure to the frame. Haven't secured this thing down yet. Don't really know how I'm going to do that. So the height, I mentioned it's adjustable. I have this up all the way. The downside to that is that now there's not much of a flap left at the bottom of everything. So I actually think I might take it down a peg so that there's more of an overhang. Because I'm going to need something to set bricks or bags of mulch, something on, to help keep this thing from blowing away. I don't know, overall, it's fine. The door's ridiculously big, but I assume that's because they assume maybe people want to put like their lawnmowers or something in here. Well, hello. Oh, yeah, and nice to have that mystery solved about the top not making any sense. It's because they lock in. When you do that part, that makes the most sense. I have a sensor here. I'll go ahead and keep this in here somewhere, and I have one right outside the door. And I don't know, just see what the difference is. Obviously, it's going to be warmer in here than out there because, you know, it's a greenhouse and the sun is out. It's about to be gone, though. So, yeah, not going to be anything that dramatic. I would imagine once the sun's gone, because this plastic is very, very, very thin. Really feels like that's not going to last long. So that's something I definitely have a problem with. Just as far as sustainability goes, I don't want to be using things where you gotta throw big chunks of plastic away all the time. It's not great for the environment. I would have preferred for this to be thicker so it will last longer, but hey, who knows? Maybe it will last a long time. I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. Can you hear it? You hear the crumbling? Like, you can just feel a plastic and know that it's not meant to last all that long. But hey, it's reinforced with the string. That might make a difference. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna set this sensor down somewhere and go back in the grow space, get some work done in there. Hey kitten, how you doing, Pumpkin? You say hello? Look at you. Your eyes are sparkling today, Pumpkin. Was about to head back into the grow space and realized that you might want to see what the thing looks like from far away. So never mind the messy table. Y'all know what's been going on, snow and everything. This is what it looks like. There are models that are very similar to this that I like better that have more of a, I don't know, a frosted top. Is that what you would call it? Just a nicer appearance to them. Those weren't available, so this is what I've got. It doesn't look great, but I have seen much, much, much worse. Also, the temperature reading so far, it's colder in there than it is out here. What? Can I help you? You're not an outdoor kitty. We don't do that. Nope, we like wildlife too much. You stay here. Okay, I'm all set up and ready to drill some holes in some pots to pot up those Colocasias. I turned the hose on over here just because I was going to let it run for a while on the mist setting, help bring some humidity up. But look at what I just noticed. Look at, okay, so on this sharp setting here, this might be satisfying. This might be satisfying. I don't know. You can really get in here and get this goop out. Look at that. Oh, that's so gross. Okay, so this works. I spent a while this morning trying to find bottle brushes that I could fit into this thing to help open it up because the algae's been building up on the inside, and couldn't find anything that I thought would work because this is, well, really, it's hard to get to. See, you got to stand all the way back here. It's really hard to reach. So I wasn't finding any bottle brushes that I thought would do the trick as far as being able to reach back far enough. And I don't think that this is still reaching back far enough, but it's helping. It's certainly helping. Get all those big globs out. Oh, this is nice. So satisfying. It'd be even better if I was remembering to look at what I'm doing instead of looking at the camera. But if I don't look at the camera, then you can't necessarily see what I'm doing here. Try and get this in at all the right angles. I'm going to do this for a little while. I found something to do. Welcome to the portion of the video where it's just Jeff being distracted. Yeah, it's been like 10 minutes and it was fun, but I'm pretty sure I'm just going to have to get a stronger pump, which is fine. Talked about that earlier. Not the end of the world. At least now I know that there's a very easy and effective way to get the algae cleaned out. Doesn't it look better? That looks so much better. That was looking pretty gross. So good things happen there. I was really bummed I wasn't able to find a brush that was going to fit in there to scrub that all out. That worked really well. Worked wonderfully. So now I need to drill some big holes in these pots for these Colocasias. You know, Colocasias, they like lots and lots and lots of drainage. So I'm going to try and pick something out that's nice and big. I know these are meant for wood, but it's fine. I'm going to use it on the plastic anyways. I'm thinking I might just like, because of ease, because that one's easier to set up into the adapter, I might just go with this one. Should I go bigger than that? I don't think I need to go bigger than that. If I go bigger, then I would just do one hole, but with this, I'll do several. There'll be soil all over the place if I go much bigger than that. This is good. I'm so sorry. This was not worth filming. I'm so sorry. I went bigger, decided it made more sense. Otherwise, I would have been drilling holes all along the side. Sometimes I'll do that, like to put a hole right along the edge, just make sure water can really rush out, but I didn't feel like doing all that drilling, so just went big and figured I'd put some screen over the hole to help keep too much soil from flowing out. These drill bits suck, by the way. They're terrible. The teeth are all crooked and wonky. They're fine for cutting plastic, but not what I would recommend for cutting wood, that's for dang sure. So now I just need to do the screens, soil, plants. Miracle Grow. Not the best, but it'll do. This is, I don't know, it's kind of clumpy. I've had these bags sitting in here for a while now, for like a week and a half to dry. It's still, I don't know if I got a bad batch or what's going on there, but I need to do something to lighten that up. I have a little bit, not a little bit, a whole bunch actually, of perlite here. It's not my favorite perlite, but it's just gonna have to do because it's all I have. Actually, this might be the one that I really like. It's been a while since I've mixed perlite into anything. I haven't been doing the aeroid stuff as much. Oh yeah, I like the VivaColor perlite. It's nice big, you see those big chunks? Nice big chunks. That's good stuff. I probably should have wet this down because that's a lot of dust that shouldn't be inhaling. I'm gonna grab a spray bottle here and wet it down before I blend it in. That was too much. I did too much. It's okay. I'm gonna spread it around. Need a shovel. I don't think I have a shovel in here. You guys, you get what's going on. Getting these Colocasias over there, that's gonna be a pain. It's gonna be tricky because they are pretty dang heavy. You know, I dug them up. I just carried them down the steps and set them directly into the gorilla cart. I wish there was a way that I could get through there. I might maybe move the tie. How am I gonna do this? Because I'm not gonna be able to carry. I can carry them all the way around, but I'm just gonna be dropping dirt everywhere if I do that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to mix up the soil first. And you saw the soil blend, right? That's what I'm doing. Just a nice, well-drained blend. And then gonna stick these guys in those pots. Now, I was wrong about the perlite. That was the perfect amount, which would have been a better story to tell you if I hadn't already put the Colocasias into the containers. You can kind of see it. Look at that. I like that. That's a good spread. I don't know if that was worthy of an update. Gonna get these backfilled. Have to mix up the soil separately. Blend it in there. I tried to pull as many leaves out of these things as I could because, you know, they hold on to water, and break as much of the old soil out as I could without doing too much damage to the roots. You can see there's still some clay left up there. You can actually see it when I point the camera in the right spot. I just didn't want to keep hacking away at it, so I went ahead and just left that. It's up at the surface, so it should be okay. I have these down fairly far into the containers, and you may even notice that these containers aren't really that big for these size plants. And, well, I'm going to get them backfilled, and we'll talk about that some more. Okay, got these all done. Time to settle in the soil. Probably should change the setting on this. That's not going to be the best for settling the soil, is it? Do I have anything with more pressure? One thing about this hose nozzle, I like the flexibility, but it doesn't have great pressure. This is hooked to a pump that does like 7,500 gallons an hour, and that's all that ends up coming out of the hose. So, as I was saying, the containers might seem on the small side. I actually think for Colocasias, these are rather on the large size, actually, because Colocasias just don't need a ton of space for their roots. And when it comes to overwintering them, I'm not trying to keep these guys thriving. Obviously, that would be ideal, right? Want the plants to thrive. I just more want to keep them ticking along until it's warm enough to get them outside and maintain as much of the main stems on these as possible, because those main stems are getting pretty big. That's where the big growth comes out. And they even will start to form a pseudostem, a trunk sort of thing over time. You know, kind of like how bananas do and whatnot. So that's the overall goal here. I'm not going to keep these over here in this spot. You can see how they have this lean to them. That's just because they were sitting in the gorilla cart for like, I don't even know. Time is getting away from me at this point. Well over a week. So whenever that was in last week's vlog, I think that was like a Wednesday or a Thursday when I put them in the gorilla cart, and today is Wednesday. So we'll say 7-8 days, something like that. a pretty long time. So they started to form a lane. That's why I have them over here, because these grow lights are usually pretty good at getting plants to lean towards them. I have to rotate the things on the ground fairly often, or else they all just bend over into that direction. So this is where they will sit for probably a week, I'm guessing, and then I am going to move them over here because this is a nice warm spot. It's not that far away, so this spot over here should be pretty warm for them also. But back over here, the ground's nice and toasty because the heater blows right around here on that portion of the desk and over the water. So I'll have to work with it and tweak things so that the hot air is not blowing directly on them. But my main goal right now is to get these guys to wake up and get moving, because they did take several frosts and one fairly hard freeze. I got them out of the ground during the hard freeze. Are you going to fall over? Yeah, it's the other reason, or other thing I hadn't talked about. I have them planted down fairly far into their containers, so you have a really big lip there. That's for support, because I figured they were going to want to tip over once that soil starts to settle, that they were going to lean, so it gives them something to lean against. I'm not going to want them to stay like that for a long time, right? That won't be good for them being pressed against the pot, but for right now, while I'm trying to get them watered in and to get the soil settled, I think that it should be good. Should be good, offering some extra support for them. So yeah, that's where I stand with these. This is more water than I will probably ever give these ever again. That's because I'm trying to settle the soil, right? Want to work all the air pockets out. You can see how well this is draining. You see that? Like, look, that's potentially almost too good of drainage when the water's seeping through exactly where the hose is and not necessarily right next to it. You can see, how long does that take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, quick, good drainage. That's what we want with the Colocasias. It looks like the water's coming out the bottoms just fine. Have a good flow here. And go ahead and rinse this off too. I know I need to replace the styrofoam, but it's like what I was saying with the plastic outside. Until this is absolutely useless, I don't want to get rid of it, because there aren't really great options for recycling old styrofoam like this. I don't even know if it's recyclable because it's just crumbling and falling to pieces. So as long as it's offering insulation from the colder ground, then it's good enough for me. Last point, once these have settled for probably another day or two, I'll go ahead and hit these with a root stimulator. Depending on how dry they seem, actually, I may hit them with, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I'll hit them with root stimulator tomorrow morning, because I want there to be some moisture around the soil. I keep getting distracted. I'm sorry. There's something going on outside the window over there. Yeah, that's all it is. Want to make sure that they do get that root stimulator, though, because, like I said, my main goal right now is to get these guys moving and growing. The sooner I can get some growth out of them, the better. You know, I'm not trying to make like really big, pristine, beautiful growth. I just want them ticking along. So they will have foliage throughout the winter time, but it probably won't be really big, beautiful foliage. In fact, these are so big, I may have to cut the leaves. I may only, no, I almost fell out. May only be able to let them keep like 2/3 of their foliage, because when I have them where I want them to be, which is back here, there's not a ton of space. So, no, that's one of those things we'll play with it as time goes by. Yeah, got a lot done. Did I actually get everything done in this video that I said I was going to do in the beginning? I think I did. That was the main objective. And then, what was the other one? The greenhouse. Okay, so I didn't set out to do all that much. But got it done. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm down to 10% battery, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Video should be long enough at this point anyways. Hope everybody had a good holiday. For those of you who celebrate, the life's just going great for you. Get any good Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals? I got some good stuff. There are a lot of things where you could tell that they had marked the price up and then marked the price back down. There are some things I had sitting in a shopping cart waiting to see if they were going to go on sale, and they did go on sale, but they were on sale for the same price that they were when I put them in the shopping cart a month prior. But it said that they had marked them. You know, they try and get you. They're really scammy sometimes. But yeah, did get some deals that were actually pretty good deals. Maybe I'll show those when they'll start rolling in the mail here next week and the week after. For now, need to get organized. Greenhouse is good. Grow space, I should say. Seemingly good. Temperature, right, I checked just before picking this up. It's been about 35 minutes. And it's 4 degrees warm in that greenhouse. I'm not expecting that thing to add much protection without a heat source inside of it. So that's about what I would expect. It's going to keep the wind off the plants. And, you know, it could always throw some C9 Christmas lights in there on top of the plants that go in there. Space heater, I would be more timid about doing because the moisture content, it's very it's very moist inside of there. And then the other thing that I was going to say that I forgot what was heat cables. Go put heat cables on the ground. That will help gently warm it. The whole point of that greenhouse out there is just to throw plants in there when I just need a few extra degrees of protection. It's not to keep tropicals out there all winter long. It's so that if we're going to have an ice storm, it's going to be like 14 degrees, I can throw the smaller windmill palms in there and some of the yuccas, maybe the fatsias, and keep them more around 19 or 20 degrees and keep them dry from the ice. That was the whole idea there, and it goes up and down easily. That's exactly what I wanted. All right, hope everybody's doing well, having a great day, a great life, and everything's going absolutely beautifully for you. And of course, as always, and most importantly, everybody, keep on growing. Bye-bye.